Morning, students. It is September 13th, 2025. I'm walking my dog Rerun. There's this little pathway next to the park here. I'm going to be out of the house all day, so I want to give him a good walk. So I won't be able to give him a walk until evening time. Anyway, this is the video lecture called Current Stuff About Newspapers, or Newspapers Part 2, or something like that. So by now you should have watched the video lecture about the history of newspapers. This is the current stuff, current as of September 13th, 2025. I'm going to go over a couple of things, including circulation. We're going to discuss paywalls, and we're also going to, a little bit of this video lecture overlaps with the topic adversarial journalism, which emphasizes the watchdog function of the press. Oh, of course, he decides to stop right here to do his business. I'm not going to show that. Anyway, so some of the information relates to the adversarial role and the adversarial function, the watchdog function of press. I'm not talking about something that might seem political just for the sake of talking about something that's political. It does relate to the topic at hand, okay? And the interstitial little bits that I put in, I like to put in kind of interesting stuff, commercial break, as it were. That's where the play, pause, questions are go. I'm going to a movie marathon at Balboa Park. The movie marathon is called, oh, now he's barking at someone. The movie marathon is called Satanic Panic, okay? It's not openly satanic. It's not honestly satanic movies. It's just horror movies that have the devil or something like that in them. And you had to buy a ticket to see all of them. You couldn't just, buy one ticket. Oh, and they don't announce what the movies are. You got to pay $50, sit in a movie theater at Comic-Con Theater. I'm not going to stay there for all 6 movies. At most, I'll see 2. Maybe I'll see 3. And I'll do some little videos there and kind of update y'all on the movies that I'm watching. I like bad movies, the kind of movies that make you laugh. And I like seeing it in the theater with like-minded people so we could scream, laugh, giggle, make commentary. Not too much commentary. I want to hear the movie. But you know what it's like, that kind of group experience of watching a bad movie. So a lot of newspapers are stopping the print publication. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, sometimes just AJC, is a pretty big one. This caught people off guard. They're going to stop, I think, at the end of this year, like in December of 2025. Now, you might think that's not a big deal, that we can still get the news a different way, but newspapers worked for a long time. I mean, they had a certain financial arrangement where they got money from circulation and advertising, and it allowed for this pretty low-cost form of information to be distributed to many people. We still need something or somebody to tell us the news, but the old way of doing it on paper doesn't seem to be working out. I know there's a lot of information right here. I'm going to put a link in the lecture notes. Okay, don't worry, don't stress. That's too many colors. I can't understand it, Professor Arsenault. Don't worry. This, I found this online. This is a map of the United States, the contiguous United States. I guess we got Alaska over there. Counties in the United States that don't have a daily newspaper. 2/3 of U.S. counties don't have a daily newspaper. We're talking about print product by that. The different colors are, I didn't come up with this. The different colors are different demographic groups. Whoever put together the study put together different demographic groups. So I'm going to break this down because I know it's a lot of information. But what we're looking at is the percent of counties with no daily newspaper by community type. The first thing we notice right here is that of all these counties that don't have a newspaper, if you're an African American county, as designated by this, African American Southern, so there's a lot of a big African American population, especially Mississippi. 76% of those counties don't have a daily newspaper. 76% of those. But look at, there's a discrepancy. Aging farmlands, that's even higher. Big cities, only 4%. So big cities still have newspapers. College towns, only 24% of them don't have a daily newspaper. So college towns have a newspaper. Sometime it might be the student newspaper. Suburbs, 12%. So suburbs still have the newspaper. Urban suburbs, where the big cities are and where the money is, those people still have newspapers. But something like Native American lands, 93% of those counties don't have newspapers. So what we're looking at is the disappearance of newspapers is happening everywhere, but it's affecting certain types of counties more than others. Yes, the lack of local news tied to government secrecy, new report says. That's not a big shock. This is a headline from August 27th, 2025. That's not a big shock. But when you don't have journalists doing the boring stuff like going to water commission meetings or city council meetings, I mean, that's kind of stuff is kind of boring, I admit. If you're a new reporter, you might cover that stuff. But if there's no reporter there doing their kind of adversarial role, watchdog function, then politicians can get away with a lot of things, a lot of negative things. So we need journalists to be present. So that is a danger when you have a county with no daily newspaper, that the politicians can be doing all sorts of nefarious stuff. Oh, this is not in JMS 200. This is not, this is like the other part of the video now. Okay. Um, in the 1980s and 90s, there was this big wave of concern about Satanism in the United States, and people were undergoing hypnotism and coming up with these repressed memories. And suddenly there was all reports of like people being abused. I mean, it's horrible stuff. But now, when people look back at it, they say it was just journalists making up stories and therapists like planting ideas, especially in little kids. The McMartin preschool case was probably the most famous case from the Satanic Panic. It was a huge, huge court case. And all these kids were being interviewed at a preschool saying, and the therapist would say something like, your friend was attacked. He had the courage to tell us that he was assaulted. Do you have the courage to tell us that you were assaulted? And your friend saw a lion in the preschool, and there was sexual assault and allegations of babies being eaten. And all these people went on trial for it. There was no evidence whatsoever. It was sort of like false stories and memories that had been implanted in people's heads by poor therapists who were maybe doing it to make a buck, or maybe they were mistaken. But anyway, the satanic panic is what we call this concern. That's why the movies in the movie marathon were using that name, Satanic Panic. And now this is where we get into the weeds, but you have to follow me on this, okay? Trump sued 60 Minutes for billions of dollars, some totally absurd, off the charts number, because he said 60 Minutes had unfairly edited an interview with Kamala Harris. And Trump is using the power of the government to attack a private company, private media company, in clear violation of the First Amendment. The CBS had done absolutely wrong, nothing wrong. Every interview is edited, always if they're edited, okay? And interviews with Trump are also edited as well. So even despite the fact that 60 Minutes had done nothing wrong, Paramount, the big corporate owner of CBS, was trying to do a merger with someone, and they didn't want government attorneys to block the merger. So Paramount paid $16 million to settle Trump's lawsuit, even though the lawsuit had absolutely no basis in fact whatsoever. And Stephen Colbert, who also late night host on CBS as well, is suddenly told that he's losing his job because he's losing all this money for CBS. No one believes that whatsoever. No one with any knowledge of the industry believes he's being fired because of a business decision. It's clearly a political reason, and that Trump probably told Paramount, you need to fire this guy. And sure enough, they did. Very current. I'm recording this on September 13th, 2025. But again, CBS is backing off from their adversarial position. They are abdicating and abandoning their watchdog role, especially with the show Face the Nation. Face the Nation had done her interview with Kristi Noem, head of Department of Homeland Security. She said some things that were untrue. They taped the interview, and then when they aired the interview, they fact checked her and said, here's all the things she said that were wrong. Trump and other people got so upset that now CBS is refusing to air edited interviews now. They will only allow these people on to speak live uninterrupted. So if they say something that's untrue, CBS is not going to come in and stop them and tell them that they're saying something is untrue. Leaning on the press like this and attacking the press like this is not reminiscent of fascism. It is the very textbook definition of fascism. Classified ads. Now, you guys don't remember, most of you, maybe there's some, maybe the person who likes Led Zeppelin and Doors on the music thing, maybe you remember classified ads. Before the internet, if you wanted to spread information, find a roommate, sell your cat, buy a cat, whatever, if you wanted to do something, you had to go down to the newspaper and you pay money. And it was free money for the newspapers. Think about it, free money for the newspapers. They don't have to hire graphic artists. They don't have to hire copy editors. You just walk in and say, here's 50 bucks. I want 20 words, or 20 bucks for 50 words, whatever it is. You put that in there. So the newspaper used to make a pretty significant amount of money. That was a big revenue stream for newspapers. One particular platform has wiped that out. I mean, there's a number of platforms that function in that way now, but Craigslist was one that really took the classified ad business away from newspapers. It was Craigslist. Okay, so the first movie is done. It was Incubus, a film shot in Esperanto starring William Shatner. Yes, I said that all correctly. Esperanto was supposed to be, it was a made-up language like in the 60s, not to be a universal language, so there wouldn't be like residue of colonialism of one country imposing another language on another, but it's clearly like a European Latin-based. I mean, you said nam for name and vino for wine. Pig was poor mine, which is like pork and swine. Oh, balaga was like beautiful, sounds like bellissima to me, something like that. Clearly European. Didn't hear like Asian languages in there. Anyway, so I don't think Esperanto is really a good global language. Okay, now we come to a topic called insert verification, which I find fascinating because it's very, very inside baseball, but it's pretty fascinating. Those coupons that are shoved inside the Sunday newspaper are very, very valuable. Newspapers get paid money for delivering those coupons into your home. The newspaper is an advertising delivery mechanism. And Sunday, people are home, they have more time, so you get grocery store coupons, SeaWorld, car dealership, wherever. And you can also zone them by zip code, right? The people in Chula Vista or Santee are going to get different coupons than the people in La Jolla or, I don't know, one of those other places where people with money tend to live, right? Rancho San Diego, is that a place for Rancho Bernardo? Anyway, okay, you get what I'm talking about. Okay, so they can target my zip code. Um, Sometimes there have been instances where people have exaggerated and newspapers have said they're printing like 2 million copies when they're only printing 1 million copy, or they said we distributed your coupons when we threw them in the river. So there's actually a company that verifies that the numbers are accurate. Every form of media has some type of company that wants to verify that the data is correct. Okay, it's Nielsen does radio and television. For print publications, it's the Alliance for Audited Media. And they also monitor digital traffic as well. That's a whole other thing. That's a whole other science of how you monitor online audiences. But in general, just be aware of, these basic concept. Circulation audit, make sure that if someone says they're printing a certain number of newspapers, they are, or magazines, anything print. And then the insert verification. If a newspaper says, hey, Chuck E. Cheese, remember Chuck E. Cheese? Five Nights at Freddy's is clearly based on Chuck E. Cheese. Anyway, what I go on. Hey, Chuck E. Cheese, we delivered all your coupons. Someone's going to come in and prove it. Did you actually deliver the Chuck E. Cheese coupons? That's called insert verification. So there are people who are hired, probably young people like you, people in the class right now, your first job out of college, is to like flip through a newspaper and make sure all the coupons that are supposed to be there are there. I don't know. I mean, if you get paid for it, do it, but it's a weird job. Here's some data. It's pretty old, but the general concept is what I'm trying to address here. These are circulation figures for the San Diego paper, and it's broken down by day, also broken down by weekday versus Sunday. Sunday is tracked separately. Sunday is tracked separately right here. We have Sunday separately, and then we have a combined daily average of the weekday. And Sunday is higher than any other day of the week. Okay. And here, what do I want to talk about this? Yeah, here's more circulation data. With the Sunday paper, they assume 2.3 readers per copy. So you can take the number of newspapers that are circulated and you multiply it by some number. During the week, it's 2.1. On the weekend, it's Sunday, it's 2.3. Nielsen does a similar thing with television households. They'll assume that 2.5 people are living in a television household. What's a half person? I know that's no such thing as a half person, but it's statistic. And then if you go into advertising, I'm not going to go into it now, but if you go into advertising, here's some other concepts you'll learn. Reach, what percentage of the population are you reaching with your advertisement? Frequency, how often are people seeing that particular advertisement? Okay. And I'm not going to quiz you on that, but just if you go into advertising, here's the kind of way you have to start thinking. Maybe you want to add that people only see once, but you want to get a wide reach and you want a lot of people to see it. Or maybe like a grocery store, you want your ad to be hitting people in the head every single day. So it's drilled into their head. So when they think, okay, I need to get some radishes, oh, I'll go to Vaughn's. Like that, maybe you want reach or maybe you want frequency. If you study advertising, you get into all that kind of stuff. Now we're talking about, yeah, newspaper circulation has gone down. Print circulation has gone down. We know that. But within print circulation, the Wall Street Journal is far and away, okay. This is for data as of September 2024. So it's going back a little bit, but almost 500,000 papers in circulation. That's less than 2023. So the trend is going down. But yeah, the Wall Street Journal is just way above everybody else. Then you have New York Times, and there's a pretty steep drop off as you go down. I think the Honolulu paper is down there as well. Honolulu paper seems bigger than you would think it is. And for all of these, oh, look at the LA Times. That's a big drop right there. All of these. So the actual copies, number of copies of print are going down. This graphic right here shows the going down. The dark blue line is number of print, like it's going down, way down. Look at that, Mike. Look how big it was in 2018. This is Wall Street Journal now. The lighter blue is digital only. So more people are clearly looking at stuff online. And so the digital subscribers are going up, the print copies are going down. But advertisers pay less for online ads. Okay, that's an important key. Even if every reader of the print shifted to online, advertisers pay less. So newspapers, even if they get the readership online, aren't making the same amount of money. They're not making the same amount of money. This graphic right here, I know it's hard to see. Squint a little bit if you have to. But the red line that goes up and down is money that came from advertising. Wow, it was huge in, like, 25 years ago, and now it's gone way down. The money coming from circulation is going up. So people are willing to pay more for newspapers, but it still doesn't make up for the revenue. We're nowhere near where we were 25 years ago. Okay. Okay, it's about 1:45. I'm leaving. They broke for lunch, and there was a huge line for lunch. I'm sure the lunch was good, fine, it's desi kind of Indian food. But I didn't want to wait for it. I had already kind of paid for it with the price of the ticket, but I decided to go outside to get a breath of fresh air. And now that I'm out here, I'm like, I'm not going back in. The second movie was good, Black Roses. It was kind of I think it was from the 80s, a satanic rock and roll movie about a band that comes to town and seduces the kids, and then ultimately turns out to be satanic. Spoiler. Was the theme of the whole movie marathon. There's some weird, goofy special effects. I don't want to say anything more than that. I did enjoy it. The crowd loved it. The crowd loved Black Roses. Okay, now I'm talking about paywalls. Are they over there? They were there. Anyway, change it up. Paywalls. I think most of y'all know what that is. When you go to information online, you try and access it. You have to pay money. I'm going to go over different types of paywalls here in a moment. Wall Street Journal, not only do they have huge circulation print, they also have a massive amount of revenue from paywall, because the Wall Street Journal caters to people who have money. So the Wall Street Journal does very well with its paywall. Here are some different types of paywalls. Well, the first type is none at all, free. All content online for free. That was the initial attitude toward the internet, because it's like when you are a performer and they ask you to perform for free, you get exposure. Think of all the exposure. So newspapers were putting all their stuff online for free, and then realized it was probably a bad idea. The hard wall, you can't look at anything. Wall Street Journal, again, is an exception. The Wall Street Journal is an exception. They have a hard wall. You can't look at anything. Those are relatively rare. Then there's also something called a freemium model, where there is some limited amount of content that is made available to people for free. This is also true with streaming platforms as well, like Pandora, Spotify, and things of that nature. I think the Daily Mail, that newspaper, if you can call it a newspaper, I look at that. So some content's free, some is you have to pay for. They call that freemium. A metered paywall. Now, this is, again, I don't know if it's there or there, wherever this is. Okay. This is when you can look at a certain number of articles for free. Maybe it's 10 a day, 10 a month, 5 a day, 5 per month, something like that. Then you have to pay. That's what we call a metered paywall. That is the most common type of paywall. If you're asked the most common type of paywall, it's going to be a metered paywall. And I know you guys are smart. Again, I know you're smart. I know you're savvy. You can clear your cookies, clear your cache, open a new browser, get a new, I know there's ways to work around the paywall, okay? But I'm just telling you, these are the general ways things are organized. Now, the graphic here, what does it say? Let me look at this. Yeah. Most often, Americans who hit paywalls will try and find the information somewhere else. Duh. Like, that's duh. I mean, yeah, of course. But here you see the data presented clearly in front of you, that 53% of people will go somewhere else, and then 32% people will just give up. So people aren't willing really to pay for the news. Who is willing to pay for the news? Higher educated, high income people. Remember that slide from earlier? I know it seems like a long time ago. Remember that slide earlier where it's like the rich communities where all the people live, and all the people with money, and that they have newspapers. Those people are also more likely and willing and have the resources to pay for news. But then when you have other groups, people without money or different demographics, lower income people, people who are less educated, they're less likely to pay for news. They probably have less ability to pay for news. And what does that mean? This relates to this information concept called the information gap. Okay, I asked Google Gemini to make me this cartoon. When you have a king reading books and magazines, and he's getting the information from, like I said, a UFO, but it could be from some big tech company or some cutting edge think tank. So the rich people get the information first, the most helpful information. They're going to get that first. And then you got all the people below who are going to get the scraps. They're going to get it later. And that robot's supposed to symbolize chatbot algorithm, some kind of AI algorithm. Why is this important? There's a theory or belief that widespread dissemination of information will raise everybody. We'll all get better. Like technology will raise the standard of living for everybody. This doesn't always happen because we have this division between the haves and the have-nots. What are reasons for newspapers declining? We've got circulation declining, decreasing interest in news. Television was a big attack. Now it's social media. Advertisers are putting their ads on other platforms rather than put the ads in newspapers. Classifieds ads went away years ago, so we're seeing a continued attrition of ads. And then finally, we have this changing corporate mentality about profits over journalism. Profits over journalism. And what we saw with the Paramount merger, and I got this from the textbook, is there hope for newspapers in the future? Well, we're ushering in an era of innovation. There's a lot of newspaper podcasts, so maybe that's a new way to deliver information. Maybe that will find a way for people to pay for it. And digital profits are increasing. Okay, I said that people pay less for online ads than they pay for print, which is true, but the trend is up. The revenue from digital is going up, and they're finding new and new ways to monetize the content, to use that term. Okay, Rerun has joined me now. Rerun has joined me now. Here, he wants my attention. I'll give him a walk in a minute. He wants another walk. Okay, here's the question I asked. I just asked y'all on Packback. This is for fall 2025, but I might use this video again in spring. What are your thoughts on newspapers? 16 people said, who cares if they stop printing? The information can be released online. Newspapers should be online with a paywall, so people can have a monthly or annual subscription. Okay, so newspapers should stay online. People need to have a paywall. Or people should stop printing, go online, but don't charge people, because if you charge people, you magnify the divisions of the haves and the have-nots, and advertising should be the only source of revenue. However, advertising exerts its own editorial influence on the news. Or newspapers, and only 3 people said this. I think you knew it was like the least desirable answer. 3 people said newspapers in print or online should go away. They're an archaic institution. I can get all the news on social media for free. That really doesn't make sense if you dig into it. That's like saying I don't need factories or farms to make food because I can go to the grocery store. The grocery store is a distribution mechanism for the food coming from the factory or the farm. Social media is a distribution mechanism for the news coming from somewhere else. And historically, that's been local newspapers. So if you get rid of the local newspapers, where are the social media platforms going to take all their news from? Or you could say newspapers are a vital part of democracy. We need to support them, even if they only print sometimes, and the government might have to help them. I think 68 people said that because you suspected. That's the answer Arsenault wants. Correct. So I don't know if you really believe it, but I was happy to see 68 people choose that particular answer. I don't know if I endorse government support necessarily, but it's worth thinking about. If the government used a small portion of tax money to subsidize news platforms, which exist in many other countries, everyone would be guaranteed at least some base level of accurate information. Inshallah, it's accurate information, rather than relegating it to only the rich people can afford information, which magnifies the divisions. So I don't know if I'm saying government's the best thing, but it's worth considering. And then a lot of people said print newspapers are never going to die because too many old people still read them, and they have fun stuff like comics and crossword puzzles as well. Oh yeah, coupons. Yeah, okay. I think newspapers are going to be around for a while. Maybe in 30, 40 years they'll be gone, but I think they have some life. Okay, now I just want to say, here's Rerun. You want to say something, Rerun? Okay, now I just want to say, this video is not meant to be a buzzkill. Like Arsenault, I want to major in the School of Journalism and Media Studies. You're such a buzzkill. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to say there's no jobs here. The old form of distribution of content on print is no longer economical, so we have to find new ways to deliver the content and advertising and news and everything else. We need to find new ways to do that. Anyone who is able to acquire information, synthesize information, present information back to the public in an easy, digestible form, maybe with graphics, maybe in some new form of media, that's an incredible skill. Whether you use that skill professionally in one of the media industries or not, that is an incredibly valuable skill. So knowing how to communicate ethically, honestly, and accurately is just an incredible skill. So you could get a degree in the School of JMS and do something else, and you're going to know how to write. You're going to know how to present information. That's going to help you no matter what you do. I just want to stress that. Okay, that's it. I think there's going to be one more question. I think there's one more question. Rerun, you got, come on. Anything else? Is Rerun showing up here? And one more question, but then you're done. Okay, I left the Balboa Park, came here. I came to this little strip of Black Mountain where there's Desi Khana, Indian food. I thought there was a place called like Punjab Tandoor or something. There wasn't. I had to go to a different place, but I ordered some stuff from there. They said come back in 15 minutes. So I'm walking over here to a place called Rosh Raj, which I know very well, and I have mithai, like sweets kind of thing. I think my wife will appreciate it when she comes back from LA and I have a little box of fresh mitai. She'll be impressed because she knows I made a special trip to get that. And then maybe I can get some chai here too, yeah, and samosas. This is more like a snack shop. This is not like a full-on heavy kana kind of place, like a, you know what I mean? Not that makes sense. It's not a sit-down place. This is more like a snack shop. That's what I'm doing, and then yeah, this might be the last break. Okay, I came in here. I got the mitai. The mitai's in there. I ordered chai. They had to give me one of these things. It seems like a bit much just for like one cup of chai. They have one of these buzzer things. Anyway, that's what I'm doing.